Taipei might look crowded at first glance, but tucked behind the noise are peaceful temples, beloved food stalls, and mountain views most visitors never reach. This 5-day guide shows the exact route locals use to experience their own city. Day 1. Ximending culture meets hidden eats. Begin the journey in Ximending, a neighborhood where creative culture mixes with some of Taipei's best under-the-radar food. Whether you're staying at City Inn Hotel Plus for its rooftop views, or the social, budget-friendly Flip-Flop Hostel, this district makes the perfect base for exploring. Make your way to Longshan Temple for an 8 a.m. start, one of Taiwan's most atmospheric spiritual landmarks. Early morning is when the temple feels most alive, with worshippers lighting incense before the workday begins. The carved beams, dragon columns, and rising smoke create incredible scenes in the first light of the day. Insider tip: follow local customs as you walk through the main hall. Bow 3 times before entering, avoid pointing at the deities, and hold incense with both hands. The smaller halls dedicated to Guanyin and Mazu offer a calmer moment of reflection. From here, continue 10 minutes to Huaxi Street Night Market. Visiting during the day is the insider move. The pace is calmer, and herbal shops and traditional medicine stalls are easier to explore without the evening rush. While snake soup vendors have mostly faded since 2018, places serving turtle soup still exist for the adventurous. Or grab a dependable bowl of beef noodle soup for a classic comfort dish. For lunch, walk to Aicheng Flour Rice Noodle on Amaze Street. This tiny counter serves a bowl of oyster vermicelli that locals swear by. Rich broth, silky noodles, and a savory punch of garlic and vinegar. There are no seats, just a lively crowd eating standing up, exactly how it's meant to be enjoyed. Dedicate your afternoon to Ximending's creative side. The Red House, an octagonal landmark from 1908, anchors the district. On weekends, local designers fill its courtyard market with handmade crafts, but even on slower weekdays, the surrounding lanes pulse with street art and indie shops. Most visitors stick to Ximending's loudest streets and miss its best corners. Slip into the narrow lanes between Hanzhong and Wuchang streets, where you'll find vintage clothing racks, mural-covered walls, and the small cafes locals treat as second homes. As evening settles in, ride the MRT to Songshan Station and enter Raohe Street Night Market around 6 p.m. Early enough to beat the weekend crush, but late enough for vendors to be fully set up. The move here is simple: small portions, multiple stalls. Start with Fuzhou Shizu pepper buns, pulled straight from a tandoor-style clay oven. Then sample medicinal herb soup, grilled squid, stinky tofu, and Taiwan sausage. End the night with bubble tea from 50 Lan. Go for the brown sugar pearl milk tea. Warm, chewy pearls and a hint of caramel sweetness that's distinctly Taiwanese. Tomorrow moves into Taipei's historic merchant district and museum core, including a tea shop from the 1800s, a local rice roll spot, and skyline views from Taipei 101 before an unforgettable sunset hike. If this guide has already helped you map out your trip and exploring cities like an insider is your type of travel, feel free to subscribe so you don't miss the new itineraries we share every week. Day 2. Old meets new. Dadaocheng to Taipei 101. Today, we'll trace a path from the merchant streets of Dadaocheng to the skyline around Taipei 101, giving you a full sweep of Taipei's historic industries and modern landmarks. Begin around 9 a.m. on Dihua Street after riding the MRT to Daqiaotou Station. Instead of walking the main strip immediately, wander into the smaller alleys branching off the road. These lanes are packed with textile stalls, and it's here that many of Taipei's designers source fabrics ranging from traditional Hakka patterns to contemporary prints. The energy is slower than the tourist-heavy center, and you'll get a better sense of the neighborhood's working rhythm. A short walk brings you to Linhua Tai Tea Company, a shop operating since 1883. The interior feels like stepping into the late Qing dynasty. Wooden drawers packed with loose leaves, old brass scales, and rows of oolong varieties. Staff will guide you through a proper tasting. Hold the small cup with both hands, breathe in the aroma several times, then take small sips to appreciate the roasted character of their Dongding oolong. The flavors unfold gradually, a hallmark of Taiwan's high mountain teas. For breakfast, continue into Yongla Market and head upstairs. At the second-floor food stalls, regulars begin lining up early for Age's rice rolls. They're packed with pork floss, pickled vegetables, and a sweet, savory sauce wrapped in handmade steamed sheets. The combination is simple, filling, and deeply tied to this part of Taipei. A few minutes away sits Shaihai City God Temple. Inside, you'll see the well-known matchmaking ritual locals perform by offering small gifts and prayers to the Old Man Under the Moon deity. Even if you're not participating, the detailed door guardians and painted ceilings show a level of craftsmanship that makes this temple one of the most culturally significant spots in the district. The contrast between old Dadaocheng and modern Taipei is already striking, but Day 4's mountain towns take that contrast to another level entirely, so you're going to want to stick around for that. From Daqiaotou Station, ride the MRT to Taipei 101. The shift from the slow pace of Dadaocheng to the ultra-modern business district happens quickly, and stepping into the plaza around 101 highlights how sharply Taipei blends eras. Insider tip: skip the pricier restaurants inside the 101 Mall and walk a short distance to Hangzhou Xiaolongbao. Their soup dumplings rival Din Tai Fung at nearly half the price. The wrappers lean slightly thicker, giving a rustic texture, while the pork and crab broth inside bursts with flavor. Watch the cooks fold each dumpling through the open kitchen window. The process alone is worth the visit. Spend the afternoon at the Taipei 101 Observatory. Arriving between 3 and 4 p.m. works best. The city softens under the afternoon light, and you'll get in before the thicker sunset crowds. The 89th floor provides a full panoramic sweep, while the outdoor deck offers a clearer skyline shot and a faint, almost surprising sensation of the tower's engineered movement. The lower floors of the building have permanent stalls from several Michelin-recognized vendors. If you want another small bite, Yongkang Beef Noodle sells a bowl with slow-simmered broth and springy noodles for NT 280. As the heat eases later in the afternoon, make your way just behind the skyscraper district to Elephant Mountain. The hike takes about 30 minutes, though most people stop at the first platform. Continue a little farther for a quieter overlook and a wider angle of the skyline. When the lights of Taipei 101 switch on and the sky shifts into gold and lavender, this viewpoint becomes one of the city's signature moments. To wind down the evening, head to the Songshan Cultural and Creative Park area. Former tobacco warehouses have been turned into cafes, galleries, small concept shops, and studios. It's a calm pocket of the city where Taipei's modern creative scene is easy to appreciate without any rush. Today, we drifted through old merchant streets, tasted tea with centuries behind it, and watched Taipei stretch out from high above the city. Tomorrow slows everything down again as volcanic heat, relaxing bathhouses, imperial treasures, and the hidden spaces of Zhongshan weave together into a very different side of Taipei. Day 3, hot springs, imperial treasures, and hidden artisan streets. The middle of your trip starts with a shift from the buzz of central Taipei into the peaceful tempo of Beitou, a neighborhood shaped by volcanic heat and Japanese influence. Taking the MRT to Beitou Station by 8:30 a.m. and transferring to the short Xinbeitou branch line sets the tone early. The ride drifts past bamboo groves and low-rise homes until the city feels like it's been left behind. At 10 a.m., the Beitou Hot Springs Museum opens its doors, and arriving right at that moment gives you the rare experience of having its tatami rooms and old Roman-style baths almost to yourself. The building dates back to 1913, and the design blends Japanese precision with the relaxed bathhouse culture that once made this area a weekend retreat for artists, writers, and workers escaping downtown. Walking through the wooden hallways feels like stepping into a preserved snapshot of early 20th century Taiwan. A few minutes away, a wave of warm sulfur steam rises into the trees around Hell Valley. The springs here reach nearly 100 degrees Celsius, and the boardwalk drifts right along the edge of the bubbling green pool. When the morning mist hangs low, the entire scene feels otherworldly. Not dramatic or theatrical, just surreal in a way photographs never fully capture. Once you're ready for a proper soak, stroll down to Millennium Hot Spring. This is a public bath beloved by neighborhood residents. Simple, honest, and part of daily life. Shower before entering, wear swimwear in the mixed-gender pools, and ease into whichever tiered pool matches your tolerance for heat. Locals, especially older regulars, often soak in silence, and sharing that space becomes its own gentle introduction to Taipei's slower side. Afterward, wander back toward Beitou Market for lunch. Several stalls prepare home-style bowls of beef noodle soup. The broth simmers overnight, deep and slightly sweet, and the aroma alone pulls a steady stream of customers from nearby shops and apartments. It's not flashy, just the kind of comfort food that anchors everyday life here. When you're ready to return to the city center, the MRT takes you straight to the doors of the National Palace Museum. Instead of trying to conquer every hall, settle into a slower pace. Start with the famous jadeite cabbage and meat-shaped stone, then drift into the ceramics collection. The Song Dynasty masterpieces line the gallery like a timeline of refinement. Delicate glazes, precise shapes, tiny imperfections that turned into artistic signatures. Spending unhurried time here does more for understanding China's imperial history than checking dozens of exhibits off a list. If you're curious about imperial cuisine, the museum's fourth-floor restaurant offers a tasting menu inspired by Qing Dynasty banquets. It's a splurge, and the dishes arrive plated like art pieces, but it's the kind of one-time meal that leaves a lasting impression. As the afternoon light begins to soften, ride the MRT to Zhongshan. The tight passageways around the station form a patchwork of workshops and small studios. Artisans here create hand-bound notebooks, leather goods, stationery, and crafts shaped by a mix of Japanese and Taiwanese influences. There's no rush, just the slow hum of creators who've carved out their own pockets of the city. For dinner, head into the basement food floor of Shinkong Mitsukoshi. Lao Zhang's braised pork rice melts instantly on the tongue, the sauce clinging to each grain with a sweet, savory balance perfected over decades. It's the kind of dish that tells its own story. When evening moves in, walk toward the small neighborhood temple near Zhongshan Park. Lanterns glow softly under the eaves, incense coils drift upward in slow spirals, and residents stop by on their way home to offer prayers. It's simple and deeply human. A reminder that Taipei's spiritual heart beats just as strongly in small community temples as it does in grand ones. You've soaked in volcanic heat, explored treasures once reserved for emperors, and stepped into the creative corners where modern Taipei builds its identity. Tomorrow brings an entirely different kind of magic: misty mountain towns, thundering waterfalls, and the landscapes that define northern Taiwan. Day 4, Jiufen and Shifen Day Trip Adventure. Day 4 pulls the itinerary out of the city and into northern Taiwan's mountains, waterfalls, and old mining towns. It's a day that feels a little dreamlike from start to finish, especially if the morning mist decides to show up and wrap itself around the rooftops. Start early by catching the train from Taipei Main Station to Ruifang at 8 a.m. The ride begins with the usual city block slipping past the windows, but before long, the buildings thin out and the track winds along terraced hillsides. There's a moment, usually around 15 minutes in, when the skyline disappears behind mountains and the trip officially feels like an escape. From Ruifang Station, hop on the short bus ride to Jiufen. Arriving after about 15 to 20 minutes pulls you into the village just as the mist clings to the cliffside homes and before the tour buses fill the main street. Jiufen is often compared to a scene from Spirited Away, and on mornings like these, that comparison doesn't feel exaggerated at all. Instead of following the crowds into Old Street immediately, drift left into the residential paths that twist behind the first cluster of shops. Cats lounge on stone steps, laundry hangs between windows, and quiet viewpoints open unexpectedly toward the Pacific. Family-run stalls sell handmade mochi and traditional pastries shaped from recipes that have been passed down for generations. It's a softer introduction to the town, almost like it's letting you ease in before showing its more dramatic side. Down the main slope, Ame Tea House commands the hillside like a movie set, all lanterns and carved wood balconies. It's beautiful, but the line grows quickly. A better choice sits just beside it, Shushin Lao Tea House. The oolong ceremony here slows everything to a calmer pace. Cups are warmed, leaves are rinsed, and each steeping opens up different layers of aroma. Floral, earthy, and slightly mineral. The view over the coastline is identical to Ame's, yet the atmosphere feels more intimate, more connected. By midday, hunger usually sneaks up. Tucked behind the busier stretch of Old Street, Lai A Po serves the taro balls Jiufen is famous for. Sweet potato and taro spheres bob in a bowl of shaved ice and brown sugar syrup, creating a dessert that's chewy, cool, and naturally sweet. The real kind of comfort food that hits perfectly after a morning of walking steep pathways. Once the village has worked its charm, ride the train from Weifang toward Shifen. The landscape opens wider here. The valley feels deeper, greener. Shifen is known first for its dramatic waterfall and second for its railway town energy. The tracks cut straight through the local shops, and trains still pass close enough that the ground hums lightly under your shoes. Shifen Waterfall always delivers a bit of spectacle. It spills in a wide arc, about 20 meters high, and sends mist drifting across the walkway. Arriving around mid-afternoon gives you the best chance of seeing that rainbow that forms when the sun hits the spray from the right angle. The suspension bridge offers a panoramic sweep of the falls and the surrounding forest, and standing there with the wind shifting the mist is one of those moments where time stretches just a little. Back at the center of town, sky lanterns rise over the tracks throughout the afternoon. The tradition goes back decades and still draws visitors, but locals have grown more concerned about the environmental impact. Lanterns drift into the surrounding mountains, and retrieving them isn't always practical. Participating is a personal choice, writing wishes in Chinese characters, letting the lantern lift gently, but it's worth remembering the environmental weight. The Pingxi Festival in February offers a more sustainable, organized version if travel dates ever align. For a late lunch, bamboo rice from the small mountain stalls near the station makes a perfect break. The rice steams inside hollow bamboo tubes with Chinese sausage and mushrooms, picking up a faint sweetness from the bamboo itself. Crack open the tube and the steam drifts upward with a sugary, woodsy aroma. As afternoon begins to fade, the train journey back to Taipei winds through the Keelung River Valley. Mountains rise and fall on either side, and sunlight drops low enough to soften the entire landscape into warm golds and shadows. It's a serene ride, the kind that allows the day to settle in emotionally before returning to the city. After arriving in Taipei around 6 p.m., wander over to Raohe Night Market. Familiar vendors line the entrance, and visiting now feels different than on day one. More comfortable, more confident, like navigating a place that once felt overwhelming, but now feels almost familiar. Try a few small portions just to round out the day. Pepper buns, seafood skewers, maybe a bowl of herbal soup if the evening breeze is cool enough. Tomorrow slows everything down again, leading into temples, tea-covered hills, and a farewell sunset that ties the entire trip together. Day 5. Temples, tea mountain views, and a sunset farewell. Your last day relaxes into a gentler rhythm, a calm, reflective finale after days of night markets, mountains, and bustling streets. It wraps everything together. Taipei's natural roots, its preserved history, its tea culture, and that soft river light that everyone ends up remembering long after the trip is over. One quick note before the day begins, the Taipei Confucius Temple and Bo Pi Liao historic block are closed on Mondays, so if your final day lands on a Monday, swap this with another day. Start around 9 a.m. at the Taipei Confucius Temple. It's one of those places that rewards slow pacing. The courtyard eases into a stillness early in the morning, and sunlight touches the carved wooden beams in a soft, warm glow. With no incense smoke or chanting here, the atmosphere feels more scholarly than spiritual, an intentional choice that mirrors Confucian ideals of learning and reflection. It's peaceful in a way that surprises most visitors on arrival. Just across the street, Dalongdong Baoan Temple offers a different kind of energy, vibrant, layered, and alive. Its restoration earned international awards, and it's easy to see why. Dragons spiral along the roofline, murals burst with color, and flickering lantern light fills the main hall while incense coils release a faint herbal scent. Locals stop by to offer prayers with a kind of familiarity, and the whole space feels deeply rooted in community life. Late morning hunger usually nudges the day forward, and this is a perfect moment to allow one of Taipei's simplest and most nostalgic traditions, a soybean milk breakfast. A nearby shop will serve doujiang in steaming bowls alongside youtiao, the long fried dough sticks everyone in Taipei grew up dipping into hot soy milk. If something heartier sounds better, a warm xiaobing layered with egg creates a savory, comforting start. It's humble food, but the kind that stays with travelers because of how familiar it feels, even on a first try. From here, ride the MRT to Longshan Temple Station and walk a few minutes to the Bopi Liao historic block. This restored Qing-era neighborhood is a compact maze of brick walls, wooden window frames, and narrow passages that have survived 2 centuries of change. Sunlight filters through exposed beams and small courtyard gaps, casting natural shadow patterns across the walkways. It's calm, unhurried, and wonderfully photogenic without feeling staged. A rare pocket where Taipei's past feels close enough to touch. By early afternoon, the day shifts toward celebration. This is your final meal in Taipei, and there are 2 unforgettable directions to go. Lumei offers a contemporary tasting menu that transforms local mountain vegetables, heritage pork, and seasonal ingredients into dishes plated with artistic precision. If something more rooted in tradition appeals instead, Xinye, near the Grand Hotel, prepares elevated banquet-style Taiwanese classics. Their dongpo pork, with its melt-in-your-mouth richness, feels like a loving tribute to home-style flavors refined over decades. Either choice gives this day the celebratory tone it deserves. After lunch, ride the MRT to Taipei Zoo Station and board the Maokong Gondola. The cable car lifts slowly over rolling green hills and terraced tea fields, and each turn reveals wider views of southern Taipei stretching out below. At the top, follow the path to Jiufen Temple, where a lookout terrace opens toward misty ridgelines and the distant city skyline. It's one of the best vantage points in Taipei, serene, expansive, and easy to get lost for a few minutes. A short walk leads into the cluster of Maokong tea houses. Many have open-air terraces, and sitting down for a traditional oolong session becomes a natural pause in the day. The leaves grown in these surrounding hills carry floral and lightly earthy notes, and each steeping reveals a new layer. With the breeze drifting across the mountainside and the city faintly visible in the distance, it becomes one of those moments that feels both intimate and wide open at the same time. As afternoon stretches toward evening, ride the MRT north to Tamsui. The boardwalk curves along the river, and families, cyclists, and street vendors begin settling into their usual patterns. Try a bag of chewy iron eggs or crisp fish crackers while the sky shifts gently above the water. The sun dips behind the mountains across the river, painting the whole shoreline in layers of gold, rose, and lavender. It's a quiet kind of beautiful, nothing dramatic, nothing forced, just one of those sunsets that feels like the perfect way to close a week in Taipei. As the sky darkens, an old Taiwanese saying comes to mind: when fate connects people, even 1,000 miles cannot keep them apart. Taipei leaves that kind of impression. It welcomes gently, reveals itself slowly, and lingers long after you've moved on. If this journey made you feel like an insider, our Asian Urban Explorations playlist is waiting with more cities, more stories, and more ways to travel deeper across the continent. Over the past 5 days, you've moved through Taipei's spiritual corners, tasted its most meaningful dishes, soaked in its volcanic springs, and climbed into its misty mountains. These aren't just stops on a map. They're pieces of the city's identity, shared one day at a time. Don't forget to stop back next week because every great trip deserves a sequel. And we've already packed your bags for the next one.